Good day, traders. Stacy Burke from Stacy Burke Trading. Thursday, May 7th. Today, in 1 hour, we have the Bank of England policy report, the official bank rate. Tonight at 8:30 a.m. New York Eastern Standard Time, we have the U.S. unemployment claims. And of course, just preparing for tomorrow, we have the RBA policy statement tomorrow morning, which is tomorrow evening in New York. And the ECB President Lagarde speaks, as well as Canadian unemployment and, of course, non-farm payrolls. Pound Aussie. Yesterday we had some very, very good movement in the markets. We see on our 4-hour chart the Pound Australian broke through the 92.50 level on a breakout pullback and a continuation today's session. So we're in that lower 250 pip box now. We have stops below the low of the session at 91.89. And of course, there's plenty of room for this market to fall, stopping out traders who were long off of last week's lows. This market has continued to make lower lows, but we do have a breakout pullback and a double tap. This market may retest the 92.50 before continuing down. Let's take a look at our 15-minute chart. We saw a stop in this morning's rollover to the highs of the London session from yesterday before pulling back and coming back inside of the 00 box for a 100 pip move down, hitting the stops on the lows of the US session. Now it's gone to yesterday's lows and pulled back into this new 3-hour window. This market is one push, two push. We could see a retest of these lows. There are stops below at 91.75. And again, as we saw in that 4-hour chart, there is plenty of room for this market to continue to move down. Currently, we are inside of the high and the low. So we'll either want to see one more push up in the Europe Open for a retest of this 9200 level for possibly a continuation, or they could retest the low for a breakout pullback, retesting back up towards the highs of the Asian session. When we bring this chart a little closer together, we can see this market has been making new lows. We did have a 100 pip retracement on the open today, but we could certainly fall through this 9200 level for stops to be hit on the US session from last Thursday, as well as the London session. So there still is quite a room for this market to fall, but again, we will watch and see how the Europe Open plays out, and looking to see the stops on the low of the day get hit. We talked about this earlier. If you're inside when the market opens, chances are they're going to retest the extreme. There's stops sitting there, which are orders, and that's where the money is. We look at our pound Canadian. On the 4-hour, we can see that this market also broke down yesterday before pulling back briefly into the close, and has since gone sideways and then engulfed on a bear candle engulfment after a 2-bar consolidation. We have stops below the low of yesterday's session at 73.72, and of course through the lows of last week and back at the beginning of April. So there is still room for this market to possibly fall further. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see that this market also went up high this morning, hitting stops from last night's US session shorts. That market has fallen and gone into consolidation. Now I just want you to pay particular attention to this pattern. We're going to show another example of this that happened last Friday on the pound Swiss. We could see a continuation of this through the lows of yesterday in a market that may just pull down and pull back briefly for possibly a 1-bar pullback and a continuation, as we see this market possibly is in a consolidation, falling wedge pattern. But again, we'll watch to see how this market behaves as it approaches the 00s. There are stops below yesterday's low down at the 73.72 area. But this possibly could be a running wedge for a 1-bar pullback continuation. Remember, in less than an hour, we have the Bank of England. Next up is our pound Swiss. And again, this market came off the highs yesterday, reversing on a stop hunt to the high before pulling back and dropping down. We do still have stops up at the high of the week, up at 21.20, and of course down at the low of the week below in the lower 00 box, the lower 250 pip box below the 1.200 level. Stops are down at 1963. We're currently trading at 2015 towards the lower part of that 250 pip box. 000 is a major round number, but again, this market also has been coming off the peak yesterday in that retest and then dropping down and going sideways into consolidation before dropping down again in the US session and then consolidating underneath of yesterday's lows. And we're currently going sideways. We have a high and a low in place, but this market has stops below the low of the day and below the lows of yesterday and below the lows of Monday. So still room for this market to continue trending down. But again, we'll watch to see how it comes out of the Europe Open into the London Open to see if that market will break through the 000s or find support for a retest of the high of the day. Major round numbers. Up next is our pound yen. When we look at our 4-hour chart, the pound yen had a huge move down, almost 250 pips. We're approaching the lower part of our 250 pip box. There are stops below the lows down at 30.60. And of course, if it breaks through lower past the 30.50 area, the 1.3000 area, there's not a whole lot to stop it from falling all the way back in at least to the middle of the box and possibly even down to the lower 27.50 area. Again, it's already had a fairly good fall, but at this stage we have a 2-bar consolidation on the 4-hour charts inside of a pin low. So it's important to watch how this market behaves as we head into the Europe Open. Again, we'll look at the weekly template. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're still making new lows. The market has gone into consolidation, but consolidating in a very tight range inside of the Asian high and low. So currently we're working the top of the 00 box. This market could come right off the box and retest the lows of the session, possibly breaking through and continuing this trend. Or we may find a breakout pullback for a retest above the 00s, taking out the US session interim lower highs. Again, really important is the Bank of England report coming out. That could obviously have a catalyst effect and a shift before the market actually gives us an opportunity to assess. In many major news like that, I will typically just wait 15 minutes to half an hour after the news release before I trade the market. I know some people like to trade the news. It's not something that I do. So again, looking at our pound New Zealand, we have stops at the low of the week at 2.0422 and stops at the high of yesterday's rollover into the early session this morning up at 2.0569. The market has broken down on an engulfment along with the existing trend down and gone into consolidation underneath of the round numbers at 500. Still plenty of room for this market to continue to fall. If it was to go back up, we'd like to see a little pop up above that 500 level before I would even consider going long. When we look at our 15-minute chart, again, just looking at that consolidated chart, we can see that if we were in a creeping trend down, this market has had 3 pushes down, gave us a bit of a W formation before pushing 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes into the session changeover and then dropping down in Asia and going into consolidation. This market has the possibility of retesting the lows of the day as well as yesterday's lows to continue that move down. There's still plenty of space for this market to fall. But again, looking at our Asian high and low, our redrawn high is up at the 500 level. It dropped below and went into consolidation. We've had 1 push, 2 push, possibly heading for a 3rd push down now as we speak. But again, if this market was to work higher up to the numbers and give us something off of the 500 level, we could see a retest of the lows of the day and the lows of yesterday for a move back through towards the low of the week. Lastly, our pound USD. Again, another pair that's had a fairly good fall. Stops still sitting down below at 22.97, so basically 2,300. And then at the low of the 250 pip box at 22.50. That market has just kept falling, and that doesn't look like there's any pin or bottom in place yet. When we look at our 15-minute chart, this pair has had a fairly good fall from last Thursday's peak formation, dropping down again in a big move yesterday, clearing out all the stops as it fell. We have stops currently down below last 2 weeks ago Friday's lows at 2,300. And again, when we look at our session today, this market has given us a high of the day just below yesterday's low, and the low of the day and gone into consolidation. So now typically we'll look to see one of these extremes either get broken or get tested. So obviously there's stops above and below both, and currently anything in the middle would be trapped, because eventually they're going to hit one of these sides and either break out for continuation or hit the stops for a continuation of the existing trend. Currently, as we speak, this market's had a fairly good run, and it looks like it could possibly extend out the existing trade from yesterday. It's possible we can get a measured move, hitting the stops all the way down through the lows. But again, as we head into the Europe London Open, it's important how this Bank of England news catalyst affects us, because we can see some big movement on that news release, which causes a shift in either direction to complete the move or to stop hunt existing trades. Just a little quote from Ray Dalio. If you haven't read Principles, great book, some great information to apply in our everyday lives, and it certainly applies to trading. Recognize that mistakes are a natural part of the evolutionary process. Fail well. You know, I firmly believe you learn more from your losing trades than you do from your winners. Fail forward, get better every single trade. You're going to make mistakes. It's just part of the game. You're going to take losses, but get better. Narrow your focus down to 1 or 2 or 3 really simple setups. Either sell highs or buy lows or continuation trades, whatever they may be. Master them. Get really good at them. Learn how to scale them up in size, and keep repeating that process. Have a great trading day, traders, and may the markets go with you.
Hi traders, it's Stacy Burke from Stacy Burke Trading. If you haven't done so, please head over to my website at stacyburketrading.com. I create updates on almost a daily basis, and I would love for you to receive them. Just click on the blog. If you want to enter your name and your email address, I'll send you my free audio program, the 7-Step Daily Routine for High Performance Traders. This is essential knowledge for all traders in all markets, and this is for helping traders to master the market with discipline, confidence, and a winning mindset. I appreciate all your feedback and comments. As always, traders, stay disciplined, and may the markets go with you.